I'm back. I'm back. And guess what's up, guys? You know what's up? You know what's up. Love is up. That's what's up. I just have so much to talk about. And as you see, I have on no makeup. No makeup. No makeup. Sometimes it's good to just be yourselves. No eyebrows drawn on. No makeup. Some lip gloss, just clear, but no makeup. Clear lip gloss. And sometimes you just gotta be yourself. You gotta let people see you bare. Faced it. And I feel, I'm like in a bare. I feel bare-faced it, very bare. I feel like I don't know, an open wound, barefaced. It's just letting the world know, that this is, I actually didn't even, and like I said, if you know anything about me, I may jump around. I still haven't thought of a message, a name for this. I'm going to have to think of a name for this because it's just on my thoughts. And I was walking, and then I put out a video before this one. It's about 6 minutes. And I was telling some of the things that was on my mind. And, I wanted to start off by saying, people will probably look at you and say that you're judging people. And I am not judging people to heaven and hell. I have no heaven and hell to put nobody in. Let me tell you a little bit about me and where I came from. When I grew up, I remember not spending a lot of time with my mother. I remember being at my grandmother's house a lot. And I always wanted to go with my mother. And so I remember a time when my mother finally came, I guess, and got me and my brother back from my grandmother. And maybe we just spent the night. I don't know what we did, but to make a long story short, we went to stay with my mother. And I remember my mother really didn't have much, but I just loved being with her, okay? And I remember her meeting a man that started abusing her. And I remember not liking him because he was abusing my mother. He was beating her and feeding her drugs. And she had just went to school and she had dropped out, but she went back and got her GED, and she was trying to work in a church, and she met this man, and that's, he started feeding her drugs. I remember not liking him to the extent where one day, me and my mother and my brother, we had was living with my mother in a beautiful neighborhood, and then all of a sudden he appeared. And then when he came, it became really bad. And I remember not liking him. I remember my mother trying to move to get away from him. And then she moved to Capri Greens. And when we was in, Capri Greens was rough. And I wasn't used to the environment, but I was there. And if you got on the elevators, they smelled like urine. And it was like a horrible place to live. And but when we got in my mom's house, it was clean and smelled fresh because my mother did do that. But the environment was very, very unhealthy. And so I remember my mother saying, if he ever comes to the door, tell him, no, 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 your mother's not here. If he ever shows up, tell me he's not here. So I did that. He showed up at the door one day, and I was glad to tell that man that my mama was not there, and I had a little bass in my voice too, right? But to make a long story short, I'm sitting up there saying, my mama not here, and you can get away from our door. And then I heard my mother say, open the door. And he had my mother with him. So to make a long story short, we lived on the 9th floor. And one day, my mother got pregnant and had his child. And my sister was a couple of months old. But I remember going in the living room one day and seeing him hanging his own baby out the window on the 9th floor. I was devastated. I couldn't believe he was hanging his own child out the window on the 9th floor in Capri Greens. That was like, wow. It blew my mind as a child. I didn't know what to think, and he brought her back in when he seen me. And anyway, long story short, my mother ended up out that window, and she ended up dead. And he was there. And I remember going and him running into me saying that your mother jumped out the window. And I remember going to the window and looking down and seeing a glimpse of my mother. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But the people were yelling at me to get back in the window. And I remember running to get my sister. She was a baby. Right. And so when I went to get my sister, I took her to the neighbors. And I was young. I don't know. I was about 7. I don't know. I was young. 8, 9. I don't know. But yeah, and before my mother had died, I'd been in and out of foster homes. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, I had a rough life, guys. And then I can go on and on. Then I get to somewhere I think is safe, and then I'm starting to get molested by someone that's supposed to love me. That's a man. Thank God. I can actually say that I was fondled and touched when I was a little girl 3 times. By men, different young men, but I was a little girl. But thank God they didn't penetrate me or do anything like that. But they did fondle me and they touched me in places that they weren't supposed to, as a little girl. And people consider and say life is really rough. I've had a rough life, I mean, life wasn't fair. My father left my mother pregnant, on the bus with me. And then I didn't meet him. I met my father twice in life. My mother died. So I went to a home and was molested. I've been in and out of foster homes. I mean, damn, I have a story. We all do. So but you know what? I probably was given something that a lot of people wasn't. I don't know if, I did have a praying grandmother. So, and even though my step grandfather, he wasn't my real grandfather. Even though he was sick, he did teach me the Bible. So, and I didn't understand it, and I definitely didn't believe it, So when I grew up, I rebelled. So I know how I feel. I was screaming inside. I was angry. I was like, this isn't fair. And then just to get to school in high school, for the girls not to like me, to hate me, to talk about me and talk about my family. You go through all that in life. I mean, come on. I went through all that. But I still knew right from wrong, guys. And then because of not having love, getting in the relationships, the wrong relationships with people. You get with people that don't know how to love you because you never knew what love was, really. For me, at least until I met my father, until I started reading. But I did know right from wrong, because we all have that instinct, right? We just don't use it. We don't care about it because life has dealt us a rough hand. And so I get it. For some years, I was lost for about, dang, oh my God, 2 years, 3 years, tough. Okay? I was lost. And I was so angry at the world. I didn't physically hurt people, no, but some people, they do it different. You know what I'm saying? Some people do it different. They don't know how to express that. They're just screaming inside. Certainly, I'm not trying to. I think when I was walking and I was talking about the young lady that had been shot in her shop, I ain't no detective, and I ain't going to try to investigate. That's not what I'm about. They got people that do that job. I'm not an investigator, but I am lovely. I am a child of the Most High. I speak to the Spirit. That's my warfare. To speak to the Spirit. And, I really didn't get on here. When I started this page, I didn't get on here to do this. I got on here to be able to express myself, to be able to whatever knowledge I think I have, or just to express myself, to be able to talk. And, because a lot of times you can't talk to people. You be looking for someone to talk to and share your experience, your strength, or just someone to bounce some information off of. And a lot of times people ain't talking about nothing. I'm like, dang, what are they talking about? And so, if you ain't talking about loving on your people, teaching your women and your children and your men to be kings and queens, if you ain't talking about building businesses and possessing land and making this country, this great country that I know is not so great right now and hasn't treated you so great. It hasn't treated you. But if you ain't talking about doing something to build and leave a legacy, leave a legacy of royalty, leave a legacy of kindness, leave a legacy